Hello everybody, welcome to another rapid speedrun game against Ilvspad, rated 1454. We're supposed to play the Benoni, so let's start with knight development towards the center. No Benoni incoming as he plays a more passive setup. He does not put his pawn on c4. However, we can still play pawn to c5 in the spirit of the Benoni, and he plays a random pawn move. This guy's rated 1450. He shouldn't be able to get away with so many more crazy moves. Let's see. I mean, it's principled just to go d5 at this point. He's not gonna play c4 and d5. There's no Benoni, so he just takes a pawn. Maybe he's gonna try to keep it with b4. It's possible. I'm going to just play e6, solidify my central pawn chain, create one, open up my bishop to take my pawn back, and if he pushes his pawn, well, he has 4 pawn moves. Everything else is on the back rank. I already have a knight out. It's my turn again. I don't know about this for him. So a little suspicious. So this little pawn chain, pawn mass is what he's relying on, his extra pawn. We're going to immediately undermine the entire chain, and that should prove fruitful. So let's go a5 to disconnect these 2 pawns if he takes. He doesn't take, he defends. Now, we can open up our rook and start chipping away at this pawn mass. So let's take, or we don't take. See? I tricked you. If we take, he can't take with this pawn because of the rook. He can take with the other pawn, and we can continue chipping away. In that scenario, his knight then has its favorite square. So what if we don't take just yet? What if we chip away at the front of the pawn chain with b6? And just leave a5 here. He ignores us, develops a piece, pins the knight, but doesn't address this whole thing. He built it up, but now it's going to crumble, so it's a little weird to build it up and not try to defend it properly or keep that pawn. So I'm going to take the pawn. That was the whole point of this operation, was to destroy his pawn mass and undermine it. So let's take it. And when he takes back, we get our pawn. And not only is material equal, but now he has 2 weak isolated pawns. Sure, we have the a pawn, but he's also got the c pawn, and it's the c pawn that's the real weakness here. So he makes a pawn chain, a mini one, blocks my bishop, opens his own, but we're just in time to castle. Our position looks great. I'd definitely rather be black. He develops a knight, probably wants to put it to the center. There's a pin on this knight. I want to just throw in a free move just to see his intention. Go back, capture. He goes back, fine. So I want to move my queen somewhere and get out of this pin so I can play with my knight. But I don't want him to necessarily double my pawns. I could definitely play with them, but there's no reason to purposely get them, right? So you could develop your knight here, but I am going to go here specifically because of the pin. If there was no pin, I would go to c6. But by going here, I'm going to be able to move my queen, and I'm not really blocking my bishop because my bishop's not coming out this way anyway. It's going to come out through a6 diagonal. But we were waiting for white to move his bishop so that when we go here, if he takes, he wastes a whole nother turn. So now we have the option of developing our last minor piece to the open diagonal or moving the queen. But I think just adding value by bringing in a new piece makes sense. And he just castles, also fine. Now we can move our queen. If you go to the B file, this is already blunted, so this battery doesn't matter. He'll probably hit it with a rook at some point. So I'd rather go to c7 where there's a beautiful pawn covering any rook pressure, so my queen doesn't have to worry. He takes the bishop, we take back, and also with this queen, when he eventually goes here, we just slink back to d6, and we'd rather be here because this pawn's blocking any pressure anyway. So he develops the queen with a threat that you have to notice. We don't really want our rook here. We'd rather have it on the open B file or the semi-open C file. But I guess it makes some sense to go to the B file because the C file, the knight can kind of pressure it, and we don't want to give up our bishop for the knight and fix his pawn structure for no reason. So let's move it to this file. We can always double on the open file. That can't be bad. And if we can infiltrate, that's strong. So he develops his knight. Okay, no threat. Maybe he's trying to make a pawn break like c4, trying to remove the weakness. That does make sense. It does make sense. We can't jump our knight in without ruining our pawn structure a little bit. Seems unnecessary. I think we have one last piece we should get in the game to add value. I feel like it makes sense to double. It also kind of makes sense to pin the knight, but once he attacks your rook, you're going to end up doubling anyway. So let's double. And now all of our pieces have been moved once, and they're all reasonably well placed. They're all doing something. And now he tries to get rid of the weakness. If you take, you help his knight develop with threats, so we're not going to do that, as long as him taking doesn't hurt us. If he takes, you could just take with the knight. No big deal. Perfect. Lovely. So we're going to ignore it. Now how do we improve our pieces as, unless you have a concrete reason, don't move your pawns really. I feel like this infiltration move is a nice improving move. Otherwise, I mean, you could jump your knight in the center, but that's trade and it undefends this knight, so I don't like it. I kind of just like bringing my rook in, so I should just do it. He takes the pawn. This opens a little bit of squares. Opens up the C file towards my queen. But now we centralize the knight. And we have this square, which may or may not even matter. I don't know. I like this though. Now his bishop's not attacking anything. My knight's in the center. Okay, now he reroutes the bishop. This attacks my queen. Now if you go bishop d6 like I said before, then you can try to hit your queen to try to win the bishop, but you can still defend the bishop. But knight c4. So knight c4 we have to watch out for at all times, but it's pinned currently. So I'm going to go bishop d6 because the knight is pinned after all. So he really can't go knight c4 down any line. I mean, he could, but he would lose his queen at the beginning of every line. So it can't be bad for black. But if he does put a rook here, what's the best move? Is that the only move, queen b6? Or do we have fancier? I feel like we might have fancier. Like if we go here and hit the queen, just for fun, and he just moves the queen, that can't be good for us. That's, yeah. Okay, so if we want to defend the bishop, we would have to go here or counter threats. Not really seeing it. Okay, let's just go here. We could always take his bishop next turn, unless if he doesn't take ours this turn. We're leaving all pressure on the diagonal. If that happens, then we're just tripled and have a knight in the center. So he goes for this anyway. I wonder if he even knows his queen is hanging right now. I'm going to argue no, he doesn't. And then I'm going to take his queen. Do I have a better move? Nope. Okay, so you see that's the thing. He doesn't get our rook. But we are going to get this knight. Maybe he thinks he gets the bishop, but not according to my calculations. So right now we're up a piece, unless I'm missing a move here. I mean, he has a random check, but that doesn't matter. Okay, so it's just a knight attack on the rook. I could just move the rook. I could redouble. I could go here, but redoubling is probably safest. And then what's his next move? Now he can't even challenge my rooks because I'm too powerful. Okay, he just takes. And now he challenges my rooks. If I take his rook and he takes back, I'll be kind of pseudo-trapping my rook. I'll only have the a6 square. You don't want to do that. You want to trade on your terms, which means he should take you and let you in the position. And not only that, but this creates the threat, and it kind of pressures him to do it, right? His move doesn't pressure you to do anything because you have this move. But he can't do anything about this pressure unless he moves his rook away, but that's humiliating. So he gives a random check. I'd say that it improves our king because up the board helps us. Okay, now he doubles, so it's counter doubling, but because of the alignment of the back rank, we can always just get rid of the rook, and we are just up a piece, so he did just blunder before. There was no crazy tactic or anything he was setting up. Okay, so this knight's safe, so only this knight's loose, but it always has a nice square, so let's trade this rook. Ideally, I'll trade his knight too, because I don't want to look at any forks. Oh, he moves his king. Okay, I'm still going to trade. Okay, now I have this guy and this guy. I can move this guy to the center, has to be a good move. Or I can move my rook up, has to be a good move because it comes with threats. Let's go for the rook infiltration. Let's activate our strongest piece. If we had a queen, we should prioritize the queen as it has the greatest potential to, add the most value in one move. He protects while moving the king up, but there's still quite a few number of pieces on the board. And he's down a piece most importantly. Not so sure you should be running your king up like this. But in any case, let's just improve our piece maybe. Two knights in the center. Looks very pretty. He hangs a rook. Okay. I didn't even want to give him a take back there because he was already down a piece, and if he's in the business of hanging pieces, I don't want to get in between his business setup. So we try to get a Benoni to gain experience. It doesn't quite go as planned as he plays c3, which if you're from the white side, there's really no reason to do this. It's kind of a crazy move. Just throwing that out there. We have one inaccuracy, but otherwise, extremely smooth, solid game at 96%. You could still play c4. I mean, the principled move is always start with d5, so white can never push d5. You can always follow d5 up with c4. But there's a breed of players who enjoy this little carving out this triangle and giving white the bigger share of the board by pushing C and letting them push D, and they create a different geometry because it has some different ideas, but it is kind of a little handicap. Anyway, C5, he doesn't push, although he could. And then center, development. And this is center and development, and you may say, well, aren't you blocking in your bishop? Yes, but who cares? We have a whole nother side of the board to play on, and it's going to get out one day. Plus, this isn't fixed. It's not like white has a pawn chain like the French defense. We can move this pawn when we feel like it later in the middle game. So it's not permanent, and the point is to pressure the pawn immediately, because if you take your time and dilly-dally, get your bishop out and then try, you may have given him just enough tempi to actually solidify and keep that extra pawn. So we're saying, yes, so what, light square bishop, we don't need it out this turn. We're not going to win the game with it. And we're not worried about it being trapped because this isn't an advanced French position. So, development, center, winning your pawn back, and preparing castling. It's very important to immediately undermine this. Otherwise, he will end up a pawn in an endgame that can be a win condition for him because he has a potential passer here. So you kind of want to break that down. So that's what we do. A5 and B6 are the solutions. A5 is generally the more universal move against something like this. So we play it. Generally, this move doesn't work because when you take, the rook has a hanging, but he also has the c pawn, so it's defended twice. You still could take and just with that inclusion, and like you could take, and then play b6, but we chose to go down the other version where you play b6 immediately and keep the tension and don't give his knight its favorite square. And a5 and b6 were the best moves by the engine, by the way, in case you think I'm just doing random stuff. Anyway, we try to break down their structure, free stuff, and get our pawn back. Development and free stuff, and prepare castling. King safety development. Our position looks amazing. This a5 pawn, no big deal. White has equivalent stuff, and even then, who cares? It's about the pieces. You're going to have good places for all of your pieces, and this structure is solid, and your king is safe. So you can't ask for more from a d4 opening from the black side. And the engine says black is minus 1.2 better. It's because of these weak pawns, but I didn't even play against it really. I just kind of built up my position, and I didn't make any mistakes. But it's like I didn't take full advantage of it either because I didn't like hard focus on it. I think it's more important to just get your pieces to good squares for better probabilities overall. So improving move for free. You never know, they might take and give up the bishop pair, develop your queen to a beautiful spot. Um, it's funny, it says that that's tied for best move, better than bishop h4. That's kind of crazy to me, but it's still really bad. It says he's just in a worse position. And now development, center, reinforcement, and to free the queen. Development, kind of just development. We're confirming 100% our bishop's fine. He's the one who has central pawns on dark. So this is his bishop that's supposed to flow freely. We have central pawns on light. So this, our dark square bishop's the one that's going to flow freely. So we love getting rid of this bishop for his good bishop. He castles. And now just development and prophylaxis center. Force move. And okay, you could choose between c6 and b6. I guess if you go to c6 and he does jump in here, I mean, the only reason you would go to c6 and let him do this is if you're going to take. But I guess it's worth it in this case because even though you fix his pawns, it does create the battery and allow this move immediately. So you have a reason to fix his pawns. It's nice initiative, good compensation, knights coming in, quite strong actually. Okay, that's a move. Otherwise, rook b6 is just as good, just an alternative. This was my one inaccuracy of the game, doubling my rooks. I mean, okay, shoot me. What are you gonna do? I'm just curious. What's the best move? Oh, okay, that's why they wanted it. They're saying it's more accurate on the C file because he moved his knight, which undefends the pawn. Let's double there and let's scoop some stuff in the future, like in the next 10 moves, let's say. A4. How is A4 better than my move? Is this really? It's crazy that they like A4 more than my move, bringing a new piece in the game. Haters, right? Anyway, development and to an open file. No explanation needed. Improving a piece, creating a pin. I'd rather be black. He takes a pawn, force move. You could take with the pawn, but then you have that weird isolated pawn, and I am definitely going to lose that pawn. So I take with the knight. He goes here. The best move is bishop. The only move is bishop d6 because there's a skewer. So we find it. Who the heck is in here analyzing? This isn't even the guy that played the game with me. Some random Indian dude. That's weird. He wasn't even watching the game either. How'd he get into the analysis? Anyway, he hits my queen. Oh, we don't. I thought we only had like queen b6, but no. you can go knight c5. Oh yeah, I missed that move. Although that does kind of complicate things. Definitely more to calculate self-pinning like that. So I probably wouldn't have played that anyway. Rook a2. Wait, what? He gets a queen. You get a rook. He moves his king. You get the bishop check, but he gets the bishop back. But then knight takes c7. Oh, his rook's hanging too. Oh yeah, you get two rooks. Interesting. Yeah, I missed that. I said, can I do a counterattack? Rook a2 would be that move if you spot it as like the counterattack move. That's also equal for both sides, but an interesting imbalance. Because if he takes your queen, you get the rook, and at the end of the line, you get the other rook. But the other third move that you could find is the one we played, which is the obvious one, just defending the bishop. And they're all the same eval, but some were clearly more complicated than the others. This is a blunder, and from here on out, it's just -4 and higher. This is a blunder because he hangs the piece, so this was too fancy. This was the move I was worried about initially until I realized that's actually a pin. You can't do this. So free stuff, force move, force move, force move, force move, free stuff because trades are wins, free stuff, improving a piece for free, improving a piece to the center, free stuff. Voila. Nice and easy. Submit your rapid games in the comment below. Good luck in your chess and goodbye.